Perfect. So we will get started then. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out of your night to come along and listen tonight. My name is Shay Collis, and I'm a Senior Community Development Officer for the Alcohol and Drug Foundation and a Relationship Manager for the Good Sports Program. So a bit of a background, we've been running a series of webinars in conjunction with sporting leagues and associations, just talking about the Good Sports Program to clubs and giving a bit of an insight into the various ways that we can work with you. And we're heading towards the end of that series, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to just open it up and invite all of my clubs along, just for anyone that wanted to listen. So I will have a bit of an overview in a minute, but yeah, it's basically just a bit of an insight to how we are operating right now, how we can support you guys, and other things that you might like to do throughout this time and in the future. I am also recording this session and will hopefully make the link available in the coming weeks so that you can share it with your committee members or any other clubs that you think it might be relevant with. So I do just want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we're all meeting in Tasmania, the traditional Aboriginal people. Pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and also pay my respects to any Aboriginal people who might be present on the webinar tonight. So as I said, we're going to cover a few different topics tonight relating to the Good Sports Program and how we can support you. The first of these being an overview of the Alcohol and Drug Foundation and an overview of the Good Sports Program. The second thing that I'm going to cover is going to be social media tips and resources that your club can utilise, how to use social media, what you should be considering posting, how you can stay engaged with your members through that. The third thing, supporting mental health and how you can refer members to get extra assistance, how to have a conversation around mental health and how your club can promote help-seeking behaviours. And then finally, just a couple of Good Sports online learning modules that we have available for clubs to complete and for committee members and players also to complete. So first up, the Alcohol and Drug Foundation. So the Alcohol and Drug Foundation have been operating for 60 years now, and we're committed to preventing and minimising the harm caused by alcohol and other drugs. We know that strong communities are the best way to prevent future harms, and that's why we have a number of programs that work with communities, one of these programs being the Good Sports Program. So our work is really important because there's a number of alarming statistics on the screen here, and I won't go into them too much, but the first of those is that 5,500 people die each year from alcohol-related injuries, illnesses and accidents. A number of those people are also hospitalised or might overdose or experience other harms, including mental health. And all of these statistics here are preventable, and that's why we believe that it's really important that we're doing our role and we're working with community sporting clubs such as yourself to promote the right messaging to be able to stop these things from occurring and hopefully reduce these statistics in the future years. So Good Sports is a program of the Alcohol and Drug Foundation, and we've been operating for just over 2 decades now with community sporting clubs. We are Australia's largest and longest running health initiative in community sports, and we have a number of different programs available to clubs, including our main program, which is a 3-level program aimed at creating healthier and more family-friendly environments with a focus on reducing risky drinking. And we know that clubs are volunteer made and that clubs can often be busy. So our program is free and tailored to support volunteer busy led clubs. We have a number of relationship managers available to support you and all of the policy templates and resources readily there so that clubs aren't expected to create their own. In Tasmania, we have 488 Good Sports clubs and 5 programs available. We're actually the only state in Australia that offers all 5 Good Sports programs. So we're very lucky in that sense. And we think that we're servicing about 2/3 of the Tasmanian sporting club population. So we do have a pretty good reach. Nationally, we're just approaching 10,000 clubs, which is really exciting. So there's a number of benefits to being engaged in the Good Sports Program. And some of these include making the club more family friendly, giving the club a better profile when applying for grants or looking for sponsors, encouraging new members to come on board, making people more aware of their behaviours, and helping you work through the tricky paperwork. On top of these things, as I said, you get dedicated relationship managers, policy templates, and lots of online resources and things that you can share with your club members. We have done a number of randomised controlled trials just to make sure that our programs are efficient and are servicing clubs correctly. And we did find that good sports clubs show a 42% decrease in alcohol-related incidents and a 37% decrease in risky drinking behaviours. So we do know that our programs work, and it's backed up by the evidence. So as I said, we do have 5 programs available to clubs in Tasmania, covering a broad range of topics. Now, it's not a requirement for clubs to engage in all 5 of our programs, but they are there should you wish to engage in them. And you also don't have to complete the programs. If there's a component of a program that really interests you and your club and you feel that you have the capacity to implement it, then please let us know, because we'll be happy to support you to just complete that part of it, even if you feel that you can't complete the full program in itself. So we do have our first program, which is the alcohol program, our core module. As I said, a 3-level accreditation program with a focus on alcohol and RSA, smoking behaviours, and managing risky drinking and functions, and also managing safe transportation. We then have a nutrition program, which is our healthy eating program, which focuses on food safety training, promoting healthy foods to members. If you have a canteen, looking at your canteen menu and what items you're serving, and then also having safe food practices and signage and policies in place. Thirdly, we have our mental health program, which is Good Sports Healthy Minds. Good Sports Healthy Minds I will talk about a little bit more later on in the presentation, but the real focus here is working to reduce stigma in your sporting club, create a more supportive environment, and to promote help-seeking behaviours to your members. We then have our Tackling Illegal Drugs program. Tackling illegal drugs is all about educating clubs on how to respond to a drug-related incident should one occur in the sporting club, and about educating sporting club members on the harms associated with drug use. We then have our junior program finally, and our junior program is all about reducing alcohol consumption in the junior space and role modelling positive behaviours to juniors when it comes to healthy eating, alcohol, sponsorship, fundraising, etc. So all of these programs are free and available to all of our clubs in any capacity that you wish to engage them in. So things are a little bit different right now. They might be returning back to normal. Everyone's in a bit of an unknown state, but I just wanted to reiterate that Good Sports is operating right now from an online capacity, and we can still work with you in a number of different ways. So how we can work with clubs right now, we can organise phone and Zoom meetings with club representatives themselves or full committees to talk about your club's accreditation. We can support your club to complete your annual accreditation. We can assist clubs to review and implement their policies, whether that be editing old policies and making them more up to date, or even introducing new policies. And we can also provide you electronic resources to share via email, newsletter, or your social media channels. So I'm now going to play a video, which is some feedback on the Good Sports program from our clubs.
The role that the club plays in the community is it gives an opportunity for children to not only play sport, but they get to mix socially with other people. They get to learn life values, and I think it brings the community together. The wings just spread and it just keeps going. Yeah, so it's a domino effect.
To be a part of a Good Sports program is really important to us. We certainly are a family-friendly club, so people can recognise that we're an alcohol-free zone for the juniors. We are a smoke-free zone, and everything is in the best interest of our children and our players.
It gives the club a better profile when going for grants, but also just about improving the environment for the families. And by improving the environment for families, we encourage more members to come on board as well.
To me, it's about the culture of the club. It just makes people aware about healthy options, drinking in moderation, that type of thing, and then obviously stepping up the levels like we have. You got to also implement that, you can't just talk about it.
With the Good Sports program, they've helped us to look at our food options in our canteen and drinking of water. I'm a full-time working person and I don't have time to read all the policies and regulations, so it's good to have someone help you through the process.
I would recommend Good Sports to any sporting club if they want direction in their club, easy steps, procedures, awareness, and lots of help and information available, which was wonderful.
My advice to other clubs is to definitely get involved, and you'll see improvements in your club and improvements as far as sponsors coming in and members participating in the club. So get involved and have a go.
Fantastic. So that wraps up the Good Sports and the ADF intro. So hopefully you learned a little bit more about the Alcohol and Drug Foundation or Good Sports, or just reiterated the knowledge that you already have. Now we're going to talk about social media and the marketing of your club. So I'm going to talk about why clubs should be using social media, what to consider when you're getting started with a social media channel, how to plan your posts and what to consider there, and then also considerations for growing your audience. So social media is a really great tool for sporting clubs to be able to share updates, facilitate conversations, and engage with members and the community. In doing this, you're able to promote your activities, your news and resources, and get people visiting your website or your other channels, and then also, again, just connect with your community. So it's really great that clubs consider having a social media channel for these reasons. So some things to consider when getting started with a social media channel. The first thing to think about is who will manage the page and what their capacity is. So it's really important to consider just having 1 or 2 key people to manage your club's social media page. This means that you're more organised, you have the confidence in the person that's running the page. It might be a younger member that's more technologically savvy. You might have someone that runs a marketing business or is really into the social media and marketing side of things. But if you can dedicate that one person to running the channel, then you don't have 4 or 5 different people trying to compete for that. Then it's really important to think about what sort of updates you're sharing on your social media page. So you can be sharing things that are currently happening right now, like behind the scenes footage or photos, flashbacks of things from the past, exercise tips for isolation, or new training regimes if you're not currently training on the field, and then different competitions and online things that people can do. You can also be sharing things in the future, like your season start date, any fixtures that you might have upcoming, wins or game day photos, or your best players of the day, etc. There's a number of different things that you could be sharing on your social media channel, and you really need to think about what you're going to be putting on it and what sort of messaging that's going to share, which leads into the next point about your language. So what language and tone are you going to be using in your social media posts? Your social media is an extension of your club, so it's really important to consider how you want people to see you on social media. Community perception is really important, especially when looking at grants and sponsorship, and also when gaining new members. So it's really important to consider that, and remembering that social media is an extension of your club, and whatever you post will reflect back on your club. So for example, the Good Sports social media page, it's full of positive, engaging, encouraging, welcoming posts, because that's the sort of messaging that we want to have that Good Sports brand represent. So think about the sort of messaging and the way that you want your club represented as a brand, and what sort of things you're going to be posting in that sense. And then fourthly, really consider what sort of format you'll be using in your posts, whether it be photos, videos, or links. People's attention span on social media is generally shorter. So think about when you're posting videos, if they're a really long video, you're probably only going to get maybe 7 to 10 to 20 maximum seconds of attention. So consider keeping your videos within that length. The same with text posts. Really, people don't want to be scrolling through big text-heavy posts. So just consider having the really key points at the start, or just a couple of key sentences to outline the post. If people want to read more, they can, but you're really only going to have their attention for those first few seconds. So planning your posts. As you can see on the screen here, Good Sports do have a snapshot of a social media post planning table, and you can pop in there on Monday what you might want to post, or on Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And that's a really great way of staying organised and making sure that you're not spending too much time every night trying to find something to post on your club's social media channel. So you might spend 10 minutes on Sunday saying, okay, on Monday I'm going to share this, Tuesday this, Wednesday that. So when it comes to the day, you pop it up, 2 minutes, you've posted your thing, you've checked your comments, and you're all sorted. When posting your things, you can either share content from yourself, so brand new content that you might have created, but you can also share content from other people. So that might be your council, your state sporting organisation, other sporting bodies such as Good Sports or government, or even community sports, posts from mental health brands or any of your sponsors. All of those sorts of things you can share on your club's social media channel, and you can use that as your posting content. It's really important to consider posting regularly on your social media so that you are appearing in people's feeds. So to help you plan your posts, One thing that we do acknowledge that throughout this time of isolation and the changes to society, that increased alcohol consumption can lead to a real harm in individuals. So we do have a bit of a toolkit that we've created really essentially for clubs to be able to promote that safe consumption messaging. As you can see, the screenshots on the screen here are just some social media tiles that we have developed that come along with some text and stuff that clubs can post to their social media channels. So this might be something that you might like to consider implementing in your club's social media channels, Facebook page, Instagram, even your newsletter, to just promote that safe messaging around safe consumption, staying connected during isolation, what sort of support is available, etc. So what sort of things should you be posting on your social media, and what would you like to post throughout these times? You might think that there's not much that you could be sharing with your members, especially if you're not operating right now, whether you're not training or playing games, might even be your off season. There's still a number of ways that you can stay engaged on social media with your members, and there's a few different ideas here on the screen. You might ask your coaches to do video coaching drills, so they might film themselves doing an exercise and then post it on their social media, on your social media page, and ask members to either film themselves back or ask them to try the challenge. Alternatively, as I said, sharing content from other people, you might find someone like a pro netballer or a pro footballer that's already done this, and you can just share a link to that on your social media channel of that video coaching drill, encouraging other people to complete the challenge or become engaged. Again, online challenges. So it might not be skills-based. It might be, say, walk around in a circle with a book on your head, have an egg race with your family, encouraging people to post in those videos of different challenges they've done. It might even be skills-based. It might be who can kick the longest football, who can dribble the ball for the longest, etc. Different polls and questions for your members. You might like to ask them, if you're out of season right now and you have a substantial amount of time, you might like to say, we're going to plan your new canteen menu. What would you like to see on our new canteen menu? You might ask members to share their favourite story or their favourite memory from last season, or send in photos, etc. You could host member profiles or get to know me posts. So it might be get to know the committee members, get to know your coaches, or even just get to know your players. You could ask them to send in their questions, or they could go live and have a little quiz with their teammates, etc. Online tournaments. So you might host things like, there's the online futsal, soccer tournaments through FIFA, or you might have like online basketball, you might stream something. So there's different online tournaments that you could do. You can have flashbacks of your club history. So you might be celebrating milestones, and you might ask members to share in photos from the past. You might ask members to send in stories they've had at the club previously. And then also you could host online video catch-ups just to stay engaged with your members. Things like trivia nights, virtual dinners, just catch-up chats. And you could take a screenshot of those and post them on your social media channel, or you could promote those events on your social media channel, asking people to stay engaged. So all of these sorts of posts don't require your club to be playing games right now or training or anything like that, but they're still really meaningful posts that you could be sharing with your members as a way to stay connected and to keep your social media channel active and relevant for your community. So how to grow your community. There's a number of different tips to consider. The first of these is remembering to invite club members to follow or like your page. So in regular times, it might be announcing on game day that you do have a Facebook page and reminding people to like your Facebook page. You might send out text messages. You might include a mention in your newsletter if you have a club newsletter. You might link it on your club's website. But it's really important to be promoting that Facebook page. You might ask your club members to invite their friends to like the page or to share the page through that sense. Again, promoting your social media page comes under that. Then making sure that you're sharing content regularly. So there are two most popular times of social media where your posts are most likely to get engagement from your members in the community. And that's first thing in the morning and then in the evening after work. So they're probably really considerable times to be posting on social media if you have the capacity. And making sure that you're sharing content regularly will help with the Facebook algorithm to make sure that your posts are appearing in the feed and that they're being engaged with. Posting regularly on social media also, it's important to consider that maybe not all of your posts might not be seen. So if you're regularly sharing updates, then a few of them definitely will be until you sort of start appearing in people's feeds a little bit more. It's important to set aside time every day to make sure you're checking and updating your social media page, and then also make sure that you're monitoring the comments and then starting conversations with people online. So if you're asking a question and people are replying back to that, jump on there and reply to their comments or ask them a question in the comments. That's a really great way of making people feel valued, connected to your club, and engaged with your club community. So not just posting, but also engaging in those comments, liking them, replying to them, etc. All of this sort of stuff, if you've got it organised, if you've got your social media planning calendar all in place, should only take 5 to 10 minutes per day. So it's not too much of an arduous task if it's all organised and really set in there. So we've got some screenshots of things that other clubs around Tasmania have been sharing that we've thought are really positive, really engaging with their communities. So South Hobart Football Club, firstly, as I said before, they had an online video catch-up. They've taken a screenshot of this with their junior team and they've posted that on their social media channel saying that it was great to see the players, checked in to see how they're going, missing their friends and their football. So that's a really great way of showing that the club's committed to their juniors, they're staying in touch with them, and they're giving them that avenue to have important conversations and have that support network. In the middle, Red Puff Football Club did a bit of a photo challenge. So they asked their members to send in photos of them in their Red Puff gear from either the present or the past, sharing their favourite memories, etc. So that's a really great way of encouraging the involvement in the comments and of the members in the community. And they're talking about photos that they liked of the club, photos from the past, really great things there. And then Canterbury Hockey Club, finally, they took this opportunity to work with their new mental health and wellbeing officers, and they've introduced them and popped the contact details of those mental health and wellbeing officers on the social media page, that they're showing their commitment to mental health, the support avenues that the club has available for their club, and encouraging people to become engaged with them in that sense. So that's really three really great examples of things that clubs are doing. So it's also really important to consider what you shouldn't be posting on your club social media channel. So as I said before, your club social media is an extension of your club and it is your brand, and it's really important to be considering what sort of messaging you're sending to your community. Often you might have families, new members, sponsors, grant application people and assessors checking your club social media page. So it's really important that you're monitoring the behaviour and also the comments that are shared on your social media page, because anything that's posted or attached to your social media page comes from you, and that's how your club's represented in the community. So it's really making sure that you're role modelling those positive messages and not the negative ones. So some examples of negative content on your social media page for the club might include videos of beer sculling or drinking games, photos of underage members drinking, humorous posts about inappropriate alcohol or other drug consumption, or other inappropriate jokes and memes. So these sorts of things, while they might be funny to individual members or they might seem harmless, can have a really negative effect on your social media page, especially for outlookers and the general community. So it's really important to consider removing them from your social media page, or if you're considering posting them, not doing that in the club capacity. So that's all that I have to chat about in the social media space right now. We will be sending out a copy of our social media and promotional toolkit. So that does have some tips like the content planning calendar, those different posts, and then just the points about growing your audience. So hopefully you might utilise, and we'll send them out tomorrow morning. So I'm now going to touch on mental health and your club. So a bit of a definition on what mental health is, how your club can promote help-seeking behaviours, some mental health specific social media posts that we have available for clubs, other mental health resources, where to go for support and where to refer your club members to for support, and the importance of staying connected with your members. So mental health is defined by the World Health Organization as a state of well-being in which every individual realises his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So it's really important to consider right now, and especially in the past few months, people might not have felt that they could reach this basic definition. They might not have felt that they were reaching their own potential. They might not have been able to cope with some stresses, and they definitely haven't been normal stresses the past few months. And then workplaces or their sporting clubs have definitely been impacted, so they might not have been feeling productive or like they're contributing to their community. So mental health is a really important thing to consider as a club right now, and to consider the welfare of your members and how you might be supporting them and what sort of messaging you can be promoting. Just leading into this, a recent study was conducted by the ABC. It was done around April, May, so the statistics here sort of are a little bit towards the end of it, but we did find that the number of Australians reporting poor mental health had more than doubled compared to that of a month ago. The number frequently feeling despair had more than tripled, and those frequently feeling confusion was up more than 5 times. So as I said, mental health was and is a really important topic right now. People were facing more challenges with their mental health. So it's really important to consider promoting this and considering this in your approach with your members and when you're discussing with them. So as a club, what sort of things should you or can you be doing to promote help seeking? Especially considering you might not be operating, you still might be in that online social media and email only capacity. There's still a number of different things that you can do to promote that positive mental health and to stay engaged with your members. So the first of these is just promoting general mental health suggestions, like the Good Sport social media posters or social media messages, or other messages from mental health organisations. Just promoting those general self-care, check in with your friends, make sure you're getting enough sleep, exercise regularly, etc., can be a really simple but effective in touch on your social media channel to promote that positive mental health with members. Secondly, you could be publishing support service contact information for your members that might be requiring further support. Studies have shown that individuals are more likely to seek help when somebody they care about or someone that they know recommends it or suggests it. So these individuals might not be aware of the support services that are available to them, or they might not feel that it's relevant for them to be accessing them. So as a club, if you're promoting those support services, that's normalising help-seeking behaviours and making that suggestion that it is okay to seek help and that these services are available for members of your club to access. Thirdly, considering sharing positive good news stories through social media accounts. So there often is a lot of negative media about in the world, and we don't want to be pushing too much negative messaging. So this does come back to the branding and the messaging that your club wants to promote. So consider sharing positive, happy, good news stories through your social media channel, whether they be locally, nationally or internationally, things that will brighten your members' day and keep that morale happy and boosted. And then finally, encouraging your members to reach out to other specific members. Maybe you have a club welfare officer or the team captain, or even each other if they're feeling isolated. So really encouraging that conversation between your team members and between each other is super important, especially right now. So as I mentioned, Good Sports do have a number of mental health themed social media posts that clubs can use. And there's an example of one of these on the screen here right now. So there's a couple of different pictures that you could choose from with the hashtag of self-care for this post. And then there's the text on the bottom about self-care is something that we should be considering every day. Take a break for yourself, go for a swim, walk, dog, etc. So you can upload that image, you can copy and paste the text, and you can share that directly to your social media page. You can pop it in your newsletter, etc. And that's a really, like I said, brief but effective intervention around promoting that mental health messaging. So I will pack out a copy of these also when I send the email tomorrow so that you can access them and share them on your social media if you wish to. We do have some other support posters as well that clubs might have seen in their club rooms or in other clubs' club rooms. And we've developed these also to be put in online capacity. So as an image that you can share on your social media channel, because we do understand that promoting this is really important right now. The first of these is our general mental health poster, which has some support crisis and support and information lines and numbers that members might want to access. And then we also have our really important conversations poster. So the conversations poster was developed in conjunction with Speak Up, Stay Chatty, and it's a brief outline into how to have a conversation around mental health with a club member or with an individual. Often people might feel that they don't want to say the wrong thing, they're not sure what to say or how to have the conversation. So this really simply outlines that conversation. The first component being asks. So ask the individual how they're feeling, what's going on, start up that conversation and open up that avenue. The second, understand. So asking empathetic and open questions to get a greater understanding of what's going on. How long have you been feeling this way? What's making you feel like this, etc. And then refer. So understanding that not everybody will need to be referred to someone. It might be that you think that they need to speak to their GP. They might need to talk to help or a crisis line. They might just want to jump online and get some help. Or you think that they don't need anyone right now and they're happy to just have had that conversation with you, which is completely okay. But it's really important to consider if they do need to be referred to someone else, which doesn't have to be a formal thing. It might just be, have you thought about chatting to your GP about this? Or have you chatted to the coach about this, or etc. And then the fourth component, which is really, really important, is remembering to check in. So whether it's been a week, whether they're at the next training run, you've seen them pop up online on your Facebook, fuck them a message and say, how are you going since we last spoke? Or just how are you in general? Did you go to the GP? How was that? Etc. So making sure that you're checking in really reiterates the fact that you do care about the individual and their welfare and their mental well-being, and that you are there to support them to help find the right answers. So that's just a really simple, brief outline in how to have a conversation around mental health. And like I said, we have that available for you to post on your social media channel, or maybe share with your coaches or relevant people there. So where else can you be sending people for support or going to for support yourself? We have the Drug Info, which is a service of the Alcohol and Drug Foundation. Drug Info provides free, confidential, non-judgmental alcohol and other drug telephone and email information and referrals. There's Beyond Blue, who have a great website full of lots of information and pamphlets for clubs, but they also have information and support to help Australians achieve their best possible mental health via the phone or online services. There's Lifeline. Lifeline provide a 24-hour crisis support and suicide prevention telephone service. And then there's also the next number here, which is Tasmania Lifeline, which is a new service available for Tasmanians specifically to be dealing with the unprecedented demand for information, advice and support during the coronavirus pandemic. So whether that be questions that you need answered, mental health support that you need, referrals that you need to general people, that lifeline there is now available, and the number specifically available. We will send that out after as well. And then finally, sorry that it's covered up the logo there, I wasn't aware of that, and we'll make sure we edit it, but there is Headspace. Headspace provide information and support for young people, their parents and their carers. So there's a number of different services, and this is not all of them. There's many other great services such as the Kids Helpline, Men's Health, the Black Dog Institute, etc. that all provide mental health and wellbeing support to individuals. So there's a wealth of different support services available, and it's important to be sharing these and to be aware of these so that should someone come to you needing help, you do know where to refer them to and you know who to pass on that information for. So in this time of enforced physical distancing, staying home, isolation, etc., it's really important to make sure that you are promoting that connected messaging and encouraging individuals to stay connected, and as a club, striving to stay connected with your community and promoting communication between your members. So in the corner here, I've got a snapshot that I took from the Beyond Blue social media page. So it's something that you could be sharing yourselves. And it's just a really simple post that says, remember to reach out to your friends and colleagues who get it. You don't have to face these feelings alone. So just a really brief intervention, encouraging to check in with your mates, to talk about what's going on. It might be that everyone's working from home and you want to chat to your workmate about how it's really different that you're not having, the coffee conversations anymore because you're all stuck at home. You might want to chat to your teammates because you really miss training and you just want someone that understands that. So it's a really simple message to promote that connection. So that's all on mental health, and I'm happy to chat about it more. We actually do have next week, and I'll be sending out the invitation tomorrow. We'll be running our mental health and wellbeing workshop, Good Sports Healthy Minds workshop, which will be on next Tuesday night for anyone that might like to dial in. You might like to ask your committee members or coaches or any team captains to dial in as well. So keep an eye out for that link, and that's where we will dive deeper into mental health, what you can do as a club to reduce stigma, how you can support your members, the importance of policy and all those different actions there. So keep an eye on your inboxes if you're the dedicated Good Sports contact, because we will be sending that invitation out and you can promote that to your channels as well. But finally tonight, I'm just going to touch on online modules that we have available through Good Sports for Clubs. There's two of them. We have the Tackling Illegal Drugs module, and we also have the Alcohol Management module. So like I said, each module is really simple. It's free, easy to access, and it takes about 15 minutes for individuals to complete the module. There's no login necessary. You just click on the link and it brings up the module straight away. So you can share it with anybody that you wish to. The first of these modules is our alcohol management module. So our alcohol management module focuses on managing alcohol consumption at a club level, learning about the risks associated with alcohol consumption, and then learning about how you could be managing intoxicated people. So this is something that you might like to consider asking all of your bar servers to consider doing. Even people that are on your function planning committee, you might like to ask them to consider completing the online alcohol module. Like I said, it takes about 15 minutes, but it's a really great insight into the obligations that you have when working around that alcohol space. and how to manage that in the sort of capacity that you have. We then have our Tackling Illegal Drugs module. So our Tackling Illegal Drugs module focuses really on the different types of drugs that are available that members might encounter, the effect that these drugs have on the member's brain and body, and then also how to manage a drug-related incident in your club. So again, that's a really key one that you might have. Not saying that clubs have a specific drug incident at all that's, you know, sort of relevant. We're not saying that there's a problem with drugs in sporting clubs, but we're acknowledging that illegal drugs and the use of illegal drugs is something that affects communities across Australia, and it's something that your club might encounter, whether it be via a member or a visitor at your club. So it's really important to consider being prepared on and knowing how to respond to an incident. And this online learning module is a great way to get some education and then to have that conversation with your committee to make sure you're all on the same page in how to respond should, and hopefully one doesn't, but should an incident occur. So they're just 2 online modules that we have at the moment, and we are looking on creating a couple more, so hopefully they'll be available in the future for clubs. And like I said, 15 minutes each, free, easily accessible, and something that you can be sharing with your coaches and committee members. So I've touched on a range of different things here tonight, and you might be thinking, where do I start? What do I do next? What's the most important thing for me to do? I've broken it down into 4 really simple things. The first being to consider organising a meeting with your Good Sports Relationship Manager, which in this case is myself. Here we can chat about the Good Sports programs, your accreditation, your policies, what you'd like to do this season, if your season's operating at all. If your season's not operating, it's still really important to consider touching base with us just for this year, updating your contact details and making sure everything's in place so that next year when you do reopen, we can work with you closely and be able to support you through that. The second thing is to consider reviewing your social media approach. So you might have a social media channel which is thriving, and you might like to look at implementing the post-planning calendar, changing over who's managing the channel, or just having a look at the sorts of things that you're posting and seeing if they align with your brand. Or you might be really fresh and you might have a social media page that you haven't used in years. You might like to create a new social media page, and you can use our tools and resources to be able to do that. So review your social media approach, whatever that might be. And the third thing, to consider promoting help seeking to your members. So thinking about mental health, thinking about your club's position on that, thinking about what you've been doing currently and what you might like to do in the future. Maybe sharing a Good Sports social media post around mental health, or sharing something from another organisation, or just organising things to stay in contact with your members. And then finally, consider completing an online learning module or encouraging some of your club committee to complete an online learning module. 15 minutes, really simple, really easy. They're the sorts of things that you can be doing right now. So that does bring me to the end of the formal presentation. My contact details are on the screen here, and the contact details also for Hugh Graham, who's the Relationship Manager for Southern Tasmania, is on the screen. And these 2 people, including myself, we're available to support clubs in any capacity. So please feel free, if you know a club in the south that you think might benefit from Good Sports that's either engaged or disengaged, take down Hugh's details and pass them on. If not, please contact me if you have any questions. I will give you the ability to unmute yourself now if you do want to ask any questions right now, and I can answer them. Otherwise, you can utilise the chat function. If you don't have any questions, thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to attend. I will be sending up a follow-up email, and I hope to sort of work with you a bit closely in the future. And I hope you guys all have a great night. So thank you so much.
Okay.